राधा कृष्ण को गोपिना शाम खंड राधा खंड की जय, वृंदावन धाम की जय, नवदीप धाम की जय, गंगा माई की जय, जमुना माई की जय, द्वारका धाम की जय, स्वामी भक्तवृंद की जय। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू गॉड, ऑल ग्लोरीज टू गॉड। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
I used to pay 200.
Hare Krishna, devotees, Jaya, glories to Guru Deva, glories to Srila Prabhupada. We thank you all for being here today. So, Salika Prabhu, can you unmute yourself? We check how your audio is working. No, your audio isn't working right.
What of now?
Yeah.
Hare
Okay.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we're going to put the rest on the screen and you may start.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Prabhu. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Narayana Namastitam Narayachaiva Naruttamam Devi Sarasvati Vyasam Tatu Jaya Mudiraye Nasta Aprayesu Abhadresu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya Bhagavati Uttaman Sloke Bhakti Bhavati Naisiki. Mokankaroti Vachilam Pavanayati Girim Yaskita Pandisri Guru Tarina. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please all accept my respectful obeisances. You are all welcome to today's SRIMAD Bhagavatam. So today we are reading from SRIMAD Bhagavatam, First Canto, chapter 16, text number 6. And I'll read traditionally the Sanskrit text, the word for word translation and purport. Then we'll try to discuss by the mercy of their spiritual masters. Atavasya padamboja makarada liam satam kim anyay asat alapahe ayusuyad asat yahaya Atavasya padamboja makaranda liha am sataham Kim anyay asad alapahay ayusuyad asad ayaha atavasya padamboja makaranda liham sataham Kim anyay asad alapahay ayusuyad asad ayaha. Word for word translation. Atava, otherwise. Asyaha, of ease, Lord Krishna's. Pada Amboja, lotus feet. Makaranda, liham, of those who lick the honey from such a lotus flower. Sataham, of those who are to exist eternally. Kim Anyaham, What is the use of anything else? Asat illusory. Alapahai topics. Ayesha of the duration of life. That which is. Asat vyaya, unnecessary waste of time. Translation purport by His Evangelist Labai Charana C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Patita Pavan Jaga Guru Savior of the whole world Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The devotees of the Lord are accustomed to licking up the honey available from the lotus feet of the Lord. What is the use of topics which simply waste one's valuable life? Purport by His Evangelist Srila Prabhupada. Lord Krishna and his devotees are both on the transcendental plane. Therefore, the topics of Lord Krishna and of his pure devotees are equally good. The battle of Kurukshetra is full of politics and diplomacy. But because the topics are related with Lord Krishna, the Bhagavad Gita is therefore adored all over the world. There is no need to eradicate politics, economics, sociology, etc., which are mundane to the mundaners. To a pure devotee who is actually related with the Lord, such mundane things are transcendental if dovetailed with the Lord or with his pure devotees. We have heard and talked about the activities of the Pandavas, and we are now dealing with the topics of Maharaj Parikshit. But because all these topics are related to the Lord Sri Krishna, they are all transcendental and pure devotees have great interest in hearing them. We have already discussed this matter in connection with the prayers of Bhishma Dev. Our duration of life is not very long, and there is no certainty of when we shall be ordered to leave everything for the next stage. Thus, it is our duty to see that not a moment of our life is wasted in topics which are not related with Lord Krishna. Any topic, however, is not worth hearing if it is devoid of his relationship to Krishna. The spiritual planet, Goloka Vrindavan, the eternal abode of Lord Krishna, is shaped like the hull of a lotus flower. Even when the Lord descends to any one of the mundane planets, he does so by manifesting his own abode as it is. Thus, his feet remain always on the same big wall of the lotus flower. His feet are also as beautiful as the lotus flower. Therefore, it is said that Lord Krishna has lotus feet. A living entity is eternal by constitution. He is to speak in the whirlpool of birth and death. Due to his contact with material energy, freed from such material energy, a living entity is liberated and is eligible to return home, back to Godhead. Those who want to live, however, without changing their material bodies should not waste valuable time with topics other than those related to Lord Krishna and his devotees. Gyanam Tmirandasya Gyanam Gyanam Shalakaya Shaksho Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Vichetam Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Vipakara Adati Swampada Antikam Vandeyam Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padatamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavam Shastri Rupa Sagritam Adham Sagritam Ajivam Sadvitam Savadutam Parijanam Saita Sri Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Sri Vishaka Vita Visamcha He Krishna, Karuna, Shindu, Dina, Bandhu, Jagapati, Gopisha, Gopika, Kantarada, Kanta, Namostute. Tata Kanchana, Gaurandi, Radhe, Vinda, Vaneshwari, Dushabanu, Shitidevi, Pranamani. Hari Priye. Mukantaruchi Bachalam, Pangam Lagaya, Tekirin, Yakripat, and Vande Siri Guru, Dinatarina. Vancha Karpataru, Vyascha, Kripa Sundhyas, Ivascha, Patitanam Pava, Shnebyu, Vashnebyu, Namo Nama. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srinivasadi, Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Ata Vasya Padamboja, Makaranda Li Amsatam. Kim Anya Asad Alapi Hai, Ayushoyad Asavyayam. The devotees of the Lord are accustomed to licking of the honey available from the lotus feet of the Lord. What is the use of topics which simply waste one's valuable life? Hare Krishna. So once again, we want to welcome all of the devotees who have gathered on this platform, those who are watching the program, live stream of the recordings of this lecture. We pray that as you all have gathered here, we will all benefit from the transcendental mellow that flow from the nectarian mouth of the pure devotees and the Lord. So before attempting to speak, I want to first and foremost offer my respectful obeisance to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan. Unto Srila Vyasadeva, who is the author of the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM. To Narayan Rishi, the supermost human beings. To all the predecessors acharyas, I offer my respectful obeisances to all of the senior devotees who have gathered here listening to this class. I offer my respectful obeisances to all and everyone praying for their mercy, that I may be able to render this service without hindrance for my purification and for the benefit of all that will be listening. Hare Krishna. So today I'm being given an opportunity to take a step further in my spiritual life by giving this SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM class. So originally this was scheduled for someone to speak, but I had the great fortune of being able to come here to speak. And today we are discussing the continuation of our discussion from the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, First Canto, Chapter 16, which is dealing with the subject matter that relates to the activities of Maharaj Parikshit, how he received the age of Kali. And this is a very significant one because each and every one of us are presently living in Kali Yuga. And the Lord, being the good father of all living entities, always make provisions for the living entities who are his unlimited children to be able to maneuver just like an ordinary material father does. So to help us, all of us who have taken birth in this age, the Lord has designated his pure devotee, Maharaj Parikshit, to show us how to receive this age of Kali. The most difficult thing in this age of Kali is the ability to be able to determine what is to be done, what is to be said at different junctions in our life. Kali Yuga is said to be very complex time because it carries so much of anti-living entity experience. Anti-living entity experience in the sense that whatever is happening in Kali Yuga is almost opposed to the nature of the living entities who are embodied in this material world. In Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, as the age descends, there are degradation of the Earth material planet. Of course, the living entity is not meant to be in this material world originally. It is meant to live eternally in the spiritual world. But because the Lord relates with the living entity who are his part and parcel, as he said in the Bhagavad Gita, Mamaivanso Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, that this living entity who are my eternal fragmental part and parcel, they are meant to originally stay and live with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But out of the Lord's loving relationship, he allows them to take a choice whether to live with him or to do an escapade or experience the other side of the Lord. But like a good father does, the Lord, even though he chooses not to live with him eternally, he makes provisions for us. And one of such a provision is this material creation, for the living entity to experience what it takes, what it looks like, what it tastes like, to be able to live outside of the Lord's association. And when the living entity comes into the material world, from the position of Lord Brahma down to the lowest living entity, it starts getting complicated because the natural quality of this material world is that of the three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. It is said like, just like energy is pure, but depending on the color that the energy is covered with, it is manifesting as yellow, blue, white, red, and whatever the colors we give to it. So the divinity is pure. But then when it comes into this environment where it tries to live like the Lord, as stated in the Bible, like that of the prodigal son, he wants to experience something different from his experience in association of the Lord. So he's giving, just like the father gives a toy to the child, he wants to drive the car. He sees the father is driving the car, he wants to experience the father driving a car. So he wants to drive like the father. But the father knows that the child is not capable of being able to drive the car, so he gives him a toy car. And because the child is inexperienced, when he gets the toy car, he feels so satisfied and joyful. But after some time, he becomes frustrated, he becomes fed up with it. Then he starts looking for some other thing. So in the same way, the living entities in the material world are like that. And especially in the age of Kali, all those who are born in this particular age are so disadvantaged, as stated by the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM. The SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM states that for those who are born in Kali Yuga, they are misguided. They have misfortune. All of the qualities that negates the existence, the quality of the soul, is manifesting in them. So when one is in that kind of a situation, just like someone who is drowning in an ocean, his only priority at that moment is struggling. And that is why Lord Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita that although the living entity is my part and parcel, he is constantly struggling. He is consistently struggling. So in the material world, from the highest living entity to the lowest, there is always this consistent struggle. But the Lord is so magnanimous. And his magnanimity is that he gives, even though the living entity is disobedient by separating himself from the Supreme Lord, the Lord gives a facility for him to be able to reinstate himself. And for this purpose, the Lord comes into this material world. Parityanaya sadhuna, he creates a material like activity, but in a very enterprising, entertaining, attractive way to drag the living entity's mind. Just like the mind of living entity is attracted to material energy and it comes into the material world, the Lord comes into the material existence and it enacts wonderful pastimes to attract the mind of the living entities. And do not, I'm sorry, you may not be seeing me once in a while because the place I am is a little bit dark. There is no light. The national grid of Nigerian electricity is down, so there's consistent light. Unfortunately, I'm not in the temple, so where I am now, I'm not able to on the gen, so I'm having light issues. So the camera is not seeing me sometimes. Please kindly bear with me. So the Lord, he makes such an enterprising, entertaining, attractive activities to be able to attract the living entity's mind, to get him back reinstated. And sometimes the Lord comes by himself. Sometimes he sends his pure devotees. And such an occurrence of bringing his pure devotees to enact such a pastime is what we are sharing in the verse we are reading today. Maharaj Parikshit, of course, we have had several stories of Maharaj Parikshit, so I don't want to go into so much of that. I want to speak more on the application of this verse, how it relates to our day-to-day life experience. So the verse is saying, before this verse, we have read, Sonaka Rishi has asked that please explain to us, give us narration about these activities of what happened to Maharaj Parikshit's and activities. Only if they are connected to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why? Because the activities that is connected to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the original constitutional nature of the living entity. And anything that does not connect to the Lord is considered to be a waste of time. So the sages, headed by Sonaka Rishi, was asking, please, we want to hear this narration. And this narration, as long as it is having the Lord, the Supreme Personality of God, the Krishna himself, and his pure devotee in it, we want to hear all of them. When a new person comes to read the Bhagavad Gita for the first time, who is not very close to the Vedic culture, it is very difficult to understand. Because we're talking about God, and generally, when people talk about spiritual life, when they talk about religion, people want to hear some kind of morality in the beginning, but now we are setting the pace for a war. So how does a war situation relate to spirituality? How does a war situation relate to the Supreme Lord? How does a war situation take us back to Kingdom of God? That is what this verse is explaining to us. That the battlefield of Kurukshetra, when we look at the story in the Mahabharata, it is not something different from what we see in this present age of Kali. Politics, diplomacy, lies, and all kinds of what we see happening in this world that is giving pain to us. But this particular activities is said to be what? Transcendental. Why? Because they include the Supreme Personality, and that brings us to a very interesting subject matter. Generally, people are confused about how to define what is spiritual, what is matter. And sometimes people say, and even in our elementary school, when we study, we hear that this is matter, this is spirit. And all of the scriptures of the religious scriptures all over the world, this tries to differentiate what is spirit and what is matter. And when we talk about spiritual life, sometimes it becomes so confusing for an ordinary layman to identify what is spiritual and what is material. Because when you look at the life of a devotee, there is nothing practically different from what he does and what a materialistic person does. A devotee does business. A devotee begets children. A devotee goes to work. He sleeps like any other person sleeps. He gets married. He eats like another person eats. So it becomes a difficult thing. And the fact is this, that when you look at everything, Lord Krishna himself made it understand, actually, there is nothing material. Materiality or materialism is just in the consciousness, just in the mind. Because in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita 10:8, Aham Savatya Prabhuva Mata Sarva Prabhatate, Iti Matua Bhajantimam Udabhava Samavita. Everything, both animate, inanimate, within this world, beyond, everything is coming from me. And Krishna is the supreme spirit. So what then is material? Nothing practically is material. What is material is that which is disconnected from the Supreme Personality of God. That is the definition of spirituality, as different from materialism. Materialism means that which is disconnected from God. And spiritualism means that which is connected to God. Our materialistic worldview is defined by our trying to separate everything from God. And that is why there is so much of incoherences in the world. So Maharaj Parikshit here is showing us how to reconnect everything back to the Supreme Personality of God. And that is what the purport of Srila Prabhupada is focusing on. That the pure devotees what is so-called mundane things are all transcendental if dovetailed with the Lord or with his pure devotees. In other words, whatever activities that one engages in, whatever speech that one uttered, whatever endeavor one engages in, if somehow or other it is connected to the Lord or his pure devotee, then they are naturally spiritual. Otherwise, it becomes material. But then, how do we distinguish when we are connecting activities to Krishna or when we are disconnecting our activities from Krishna? Maharaj Parikshit gave us a vivid example in his life. And we see in the narration of the whole of the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, all the very scriptures, and all the revealed scriptures, that the constant topic is about how those activities that we hear, that we see, are related to the Supreme Personality of God. But when the living entity loses perception of itself, then it starts identifying with the material world. And Bhagavad Gita nicely captured this when he says that Prakrite Kriya Manani Gunai Kama Salvasa Ahankara Vimudatma Kataham Iti Mayate. That when the living entity, as stated also in the Bhagavad Gita, when he's covered by desire to lord it over material nature, then he starts seeing everything in relation to matter. At that moment, he starts considering himself to be identified with the place of birth and everything that surrounds that place of birth. And that is the ABC of spiritual life, to be able to disassociate oneself from the external to the internal side. We're hearing SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM. We're speaking just like every other person is speaking. In fact, it is said that unless the living entity is asleep, even when he's sleeping, he's talking. So the living entity, because it's by nature conscious, it cannot stop activities. But when its activities are connected to the Lord, as described by the Lord and his pure devotee in the scriptures, then it becomes a spiritual activities. And Srila Prabhupada described in the purport that the spiritual planet, Goloka Vrindavan, the eternal abode of Lord Krishna, is shaped like the wall of lotus flower. And he gave us some descriptions of the spiritual world. And in our day-to-day spiritual life, one challenging situation is that we find it difficult to understand when we are growing in spiritual life or whether we are being materialistic. I think in some few days back, someone was asking a question. At what point do we see that our activities is spiritual or different from as different from our material activities? Because in every day we do every other practical activity that is connected and related to material. We do management. There is no place in the whole world that has more politics than in our Eastern movement. So all of these things that is going on is there. But the difference is that these are connected to the spiritual kingdom of God and God himself and his pure devotees. So someone asked a question. How do we know when our activities are connected to the spiritual personality of God or to his pure devotees? It is said that the quality of a food is determined by its taste. And that reminds me of one story of one of the great Vaishnava Acharya, Shankaracharya. Shankaracharya, as we all know, is a very great personality, great Vaishnava. And during his time on earth, a lot of people want to associate him. We have the story similar to that with Jagannatha Babaji. But this particular story is related to Shankaracharya. Shankaracharya, as famous as he is, every notable Vaishnava wants to be connected and related to it, just like in the material world. Everyone wants to be associated with someone who is a success. So there is this very learned scholar. He's a renowned scholar. He has studied the Vedic scriptures in and out. So one day he went to Shankaracharya ashram and he said, after meeting his disciple, he said, please, I want to meet your guru. He said, what is the problem? He said, no, I want to meet him personally. So they gave him the opportunity to have darshan of Shankaracharya. And he met Shankaracharya, they asked, say, my dear sir, please, I want to become your disciple. Please accept me as one of your disciples. Because when Shankaracharya is there, to be recognized, just like to be called the friend of the president of the United States of America is a very glorious thing. If somebody identifies you or you stand, if people even go to every length to stand with the president of a nation just to snap picture because they want to be identified with that great personality. So this scholar, he wanted to be renowned and known as a disciple of Shankaracharya. So he met with him and he said, please, sir, if you so like, I would like you to be my guru. Please accept me as your disciple. So Shankaracharya told him, he said, my dear, you are not qualified to be my disciple. So I cannot accept you. He said, what? I'm a renowned scholar. I know the Vedic scriptures in out. I have studied under the guidance of a reputable Vedic scholar. I know all of the scriptures. I know the conclusion of the scripture. And if you doubt me, please engage me in topics about the Vedic conclusions. And you will see that I'm the most qualified to be your disciple. And Shankaracharya laughed. And when he laughed, he told him, he said, actually, this is the real disqualification. He said, if you think that actually you know the scriptures and you know the conclusion of the scriptures as you claim, then how then will you want to engage in debate of the scriptures with your proposed guru? You want to engage your proposed guru in debate on the scriptures. So that is high level of egoism. So you're not qualified to be my disciple. And immediately, the scholar realized it's holy. And he said, okay, sir, I can really understand where you're coming from, sir. I'm sorry. As a disciple, I'm not supposed to engage my guru in debate. It is my mistake. But what can I do? Still, I desire to be your disciple. Please, tell me whatever you want me to do. Then I will accept. I will accept the condition just to become your disciple. The secretary looked at him and said, okay, you go to Vrindavan, the land of Krishna. For 1 year, go there and engage in Harinam. Chant the holy name with all your mind dedicated to the chanting of the holy name. And if you do this in 1 year, you'll be purified. And if you really have chanted and taken the name of Krishna, I will see. Then maybe then I can accept you as my disciple. And he galley said, that is a very small thing to you. I've dedicated my life, all life. And he went, as instructed by Secretary, I went to the Vrindavan. And he went there and devotedly was chanting for 1 good whole year. Morning, evening, as instructed, he would chant. And he's meditating on Sankaracharya. Then when the year reached, he was coming back to meet with him. And when Sankaracharya saw him coming in the distance, he called the sweeper who was sweeping in front of him. He said, dear sweeper, he said, look at that personality that is coming. He's coming to meet me. But before he reaches here, once he gets close to you, the depth of this floor that you are sweeping, please kindly sweep it upon his body. And the sweeper said, oh, how can I do that? If I do that, he's a sage. He will curse me, he will beat me. I can't do that. But you know the nature of Sudras. The Sudras are to do service. And the greatest thing that is valuable to Sudra is money. And that is why the whole world today is only after money. But not to deviate from the story. So the Sudra, Secretary told him, okay, I'll give you 5 rupees. Just go ahead. Do what I ask you. And if he tries to punish you or curse you, I'll protect you. So immediately, because of 5 rupees, he accepted. He said, okay, I'll do it. So when the scholar got closer, all the debt that he had swept gathered, he just swept it all over his body. And when he did that, immediately the scholar became enraged. Say, what kind of a sweeper are you? You Sudra. What the hell is wrong with you? Can't you see me coming? I'm going to go and see Secretariat, and you're sweeping debts upon my body. What kind of a person are you? And he started shouting at the top of his voice. The Sudra started begging. I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry, sir. And he started moving away so that he doesn't get a curse. And with that anger, his eye was, when someone becomes angry, his eyes squeeze. All of his eyes will shrink in. So in that mood, he came before Secretariat. And he met me, sir, I've gone for 1 year, I've chanted, dedicatedly as instructed me. He said, but your eyes is looking very angry. What is the problem? He said, no, I followed your instruction diligently, but as I was coming close to your ashram, just at the entrance, there is one Shudra super. He just swept so much dirt on my body to contaminate me. And that made me so angry. In fact, I wanted to curse him, but I was just trying to control myself. Say, but sir, please, let us leave that. He just wanted to make me angry. But he made me angry, say, little bit, but just please, I have come back. Please accept me as your disciple. Sankaracharya looked at him and laughed. Said, my dear, you are not qualified yet still to be my disciple. He said, but I've chanted for 1 year as you instructed me. I've dedicatedly chanted. I did not move out of Vrindavan for the whole year. I was chanting morning and evening. I was taking the Nam. He said, if you have taken the Nam, then you will not have been angry for a sweeper sweeping debts on you. And they realizes, oh, as a realized person, I'm not supposed to get angry at somebody's agitating me. He said, okay, sir, what can I do next? He said, okay, you go back to Vrindavan again for another 1 year, you go and chant the Nam. And after 1 year, you come back. And he went for the second year. And he did diligently also, because he's very desirous. He wants to be the disciple of the chariot. And when he came, when he was approaching the ashram of Sankaracharya, was he a sage? Self-realized, you could see, he was coming close. And he said, where is that our sweeper? Please call him back. And he said, sir, you called for me. He said, yes. He said, now start sweeping from this front. Gather some every day that you have to put in your front and sweep it. He said, sir, but I've cleaned everything. He said, put it there and sweep. He said, what should I do with that? He said, that man that want to cause it the other time is coming now. He will soon arrive here. When he comes this time, don't sweep the dirt on him. Carry the broom that you are using to sweep. Beat it on his head. I said, this one is going to be too much. If I do this, then I will be finished. He said, no. He said, no, how can I do this? He said, okay, I increase it 5 rupees to 20 rupees. Take 20 rupees. Just do it. I will protect you. Don't worry. And as a student, immediately, when he had 20 rupees, immediately, quickly, he said, okay, I will do it, sir. But you will protect me if there's a problem. And when the scholar came close.
We can't hear you. I think your network.
Is it true with everyone? No, everyone cannot hear me?
No, we can hear you. We can hear you. Go ahead, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you. So when he came this time, so the Sudra did as was instructed by Sankaracharya, and he beat on his head with the broom. Oh, the heaven loose. This time, he ran after her. The sweeper was running and he was running after him to catch him until the sweeper ran to the feet of the Sankaracharya. Then he slowed down when he saw that he was entering the ashram. And he entered. This time around, he tried to make his face look different because he was already caught in the act. And when he approached Sankaracharya, he said, sir, I have come back, I've done as you said. He ignored the sweeper now. He didn't want to talk to the sweeper as if nothing has happened. And Sankaracharya looked at him and said, my dear scholar, you have not qualified yet to be my disciple. He said, but this time I did whatever you said again. He said, this sweeper just beat you with his broom. And if you have been able to catch him, only Krishna knows what you will have done to him. You'll have to go back. Another 1 year. And he had to go because he wants to fortunately become a disciple of Sankaracharya. And he went for the 3rd year. And this time he realized this is folly. He said, what the Guru is trying to tell me is because my problem is anger. So this time I will try to work on myself while I'm chanting. And he went for the another year to Vrindavan and chanted, take the man. And this year, when he chanted for 1 year again, the 3rd year he came back. And he was coming back this time. Sankaracharya saw him as usual. And he said, oh, where is that sweeper? Sweeper, please come. There's service for you again. He said, sir, what is it this time? He said, that same man, when you beat your broom the other time, he said he's coming again. He said, sir, this time again? He said, yes. This time you are going to get 50 rupees. Don't worry. Do what I said to you. And the super said, okay, I will do it, sir. What should I do this time? He said, go and stay in one corner. When he's about to enter my ashram, carry all of the dirt that you have seen from the day. Look for cow dirt, cow dung, urine, whatever dirty things you can pack it inside a big conveyor. When he comes close, from his back, pour it all over his body. Don't beat him with those. Pour all of the dirt all over his body. And when you do that, run to me if he wants to catch you. And the woman said, okay. The Sudra woman said, okay, I'll do it. Since you have promised protection and you are giving me 50 rupees, I will do it. And truly, as he came close, he saw him coming in. And this time he hid in one corner. And when he was about getting close to his ashram, he carried all of the dirt, with all of the dirty things, contaminated things, he fall over his head, the scholar's head from the back. When that happened, this time the scholar looked back and he laughed. He folded his arms. He said, my dear Sudra woman, you are no longer a Sudra. You are my guru. I'm accepting you first as foremost as my first guru. Because by your mercy only, I've been able to overcome the greatest challenge in spiritual journey. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to learn. The woman became confused. There is a person that was going to just guide sweeping on. So he folded his hand and bent down and touched the feet of the Sudra woman. He said, I accept you as my guru, because by your mercy, you have trained me, you have taught me the greatest of all lessons. Thank you very much. And he cleaned off his body, went to the riverside, took his bath, and come back and met Shankaracharya. Before he entered his ashram, Shankaracharya has arranged some of his disciples. And when he comes in, the moment he comes in, he gallanted him. I said, what is happening? He said, the Guru wants to see you. And before he could open his mouth, Shankaracharya told him, now you are qualified to be my disciple, because you have developed the most important quality of a disciple, humility. So therefore, I'm accepting you as my disciple. This shall be your name. So what is the lesson to be learned in this lesson? In Kali Yuga, as a devotee, as a practitioner of Krishna consciousness, we face the essence of the lesson of Maharaj Parikshit, in that Maharaj Parikshit, when he saw the Kali Yuga, he punished him. When we look at the story, Prabhupada explained to us in the purpose, Maharaj Parikshit acted in accordance with the desire of the Lord. Maharaj Parikshit was not angry, but to fulfill the wish of the Lord, so that you and I can learn the lesson. Maharaj Parikshit took that opportunity so that we can hear SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM. So the lesson is that as we go in spiritual life, we will know if this Kali Yuga, as difficult as it is, or in our temples, the imbalance in the society, we will never find a lacking of it, because it's always going to be there. The moment this acrimony, hatred, politics, enviousness does not exist, it means we are no longer in Kali Yuga. But in Kali Yuga, as we're in Kali Yuga, continuously what we see is the opposite of what is expected for a spiritual person. But if we follow in the mood of Maharaj Parikshit, then we can please the Lord and his devotee. And at the end of life, so because this class entertain discussions within the period of time, so I will want to stop here, but what we've talked about, the we started by reading the verse where Maharaj, we are told in the text that the devotees of the Lord are accustomed to licking up the honey available, because they understand that there is no use for other topics. For other such topics are just simply mere waste of one's valuable life. Both the Lord and his devotees, pure devotees, on the transcendental plane, whether it is politics, because most often we wonder, we complain bitterly that why is there so much politics in this country? Well, they all are welcome according to the PowerPoint. In one article I wrote several years in 2003, I wrote the Lord and devotees.
Salika Prabhu, hold up, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. It appears you have two microphones open.
Whether it is politics, okay, I think most of it we wonder, we complain bitterly. Why is there so much politics in this country? Well, they all are welcome according to the PowerPoint. In one article I wrote several years in 2003, I wrote the Lord and
Salika Prabhu, hold up, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. It appears you have two microphones open.
Whether it is politics,
Maybe Prabhu won.
Why are there so much qualification? That is, I'm telling myself. Speaking. I welcome to Papa. In one article I wrote. Hare Krishna. Is it okay now?
Yeah, it's okay.
So I don't know where that came from.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Okay. I saw Kavi Kanpo sharing some links, so I checked on it to see what was there. I think that was what.
Okay.
I think that was what interested, but I've closed it. So we were explaining that the purpose, even materialistic activities, becomes wonderful when they are engaged. And someone was asking a question that we explained that someone was asking a question. It becomes material or spiritual. So Prabhupada answered that question in this purpose by explaining that material activities, even management or politics or diplomacy, become spiritual when they are engaged or connected to the Lord or his pure devotees. Then we explained that how do we know whether we are advancing in the course of spiritual life or not? Then we share the story of Sankaracharya where it is said that the foremost quality that we develop to know that we are actually engaging our activities in the service of the Lord and his pure devotees, that we start developing humility. The moment that is not manifesting, then clear that we are not advancing in the course of spiritual life. Our sin is that he start developing humility and of all good qualities of spiritual life. And that is what one should become humble. And that Lachita Mahaprabhu, we explain that that is the quality, and then we all try to check is to check us whether our activities are connected to the Lord or connected to our senses. Our activities increase our ego. Activities that are connected to the Lord and his pure devotee will increases. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna. So if there are questions, comments, contributions.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Shri Salika Prabhu. So, I mean, the text itself and the purport is very interesting and can be quite controversial also. But you did a very good job in tackling it. We also actually wanted to formally recognize His Grace Srivatmanachari. He's on the forum here. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you for being here.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So,
Thank you
dear devotees, if anyone has a question, comment, please, you may do so now. Salika Prabhu, you were saying that actually you were just addressing what the text itself says, that things that are not related to Krishna, devotees are not interested in. So my question is, what in this world is actually not related to Krishna? Is there anything that is not related to Krishna?
Very nice question. Thank you so much. Charlie, that is the essence of the whole topic we're discussing today. What is explained in the purpose in the earlier in the class? Actually, there is nothing that is outside of the Lord. But when is meant for gratifying the material identities in the name, wife, children, and whatever that is externally connected to Krishna means that the Lord is pleased or that particular activities. That is what it means to be connected.
Yeah, your voice is breaking up, Sri Salika. Maybe you turn off your video.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's fluctuation of net. What I was trying to explain is that there is nothing practically that is disconnected from Krishna. But disconnection with Krishna means that the Lord is not the endeavor. And then someone will ask, since our senses are also part of Krishna, then do we say it is not discouraged? Because if I gratify my senses, my senses is also part of that. The underlying fact, we is to be pleased. And that is what Lord Krishna concluded the Bhagavad Gita with when he said in 18 that everything must be for his time. It's also emphasized. Bhaktaram Yagya Papasan. Whatever it is, whether our senses, our body, our management, the Lord should be the beneficiary of this. The moment the Lord is not the beneficiary of the endeavor or the speech or the act, I don't know whether
I think you did justice to it, except that your audio was breaking up, so I didn't get the full content of what you were saying. But I got bits and pieces here and there, and I think it's quite satisfactory. We go to Kabikana Prabhu, please unmute. Salika, I don't know, you might have to stop your video to see if that might improve your audio.
Yeah, but let me try.
All right, so
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
yeah, Hare Krishna, Kavi.
Dadava Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
So coming up from the Prabhu's lecture. So let me start. What Prabhu gave about the guru testing the disciple, testing him on one thing or another. My question is, in today's now, is it the guru still consider? Because we see that in ISKCON now, or I don't see that coming into play. You know, type or not? Is it compulsory? Is it also, I mean, the nectar of the devotion? They say the disciple should scrutinize the devotee, the disciple, and the disciple should scrutinize the guru. So is this still possible for the guru to test the disciple? That is number one question.
Hello?
I will ask the second one.
Yeah, I think I'm struggling.
Yeah, I mean, Kabikana Prabhu himself was also breaking up, so I think it's probably a national issue today.
Baba, are you hearing me?
Yeah, but you were breaking up.
Our rain is falling here, you know.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
rain is condensing the network. So what I'm trying. And my question is that the story Prabhu narrated about the guru testing it. Is that even Rupa Goswami mentioned in Nectar of Devotion that the guru. So my question is that is that still up? Or whoever comes to the guru give initiation. After that, I will ask another one. Yeah.
All right. Salika is working on his audio. Salika, probably you will have to change this mic. This mic is not working
Remove
right.
the cable. Salika, Prabhu, remove the cable.
Is it okay now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if you got Kavikana Prabhu's
I didn't
question.
get it fully. Please, if you can
Okay,
read.
his question is from the story you shared, narrated about the guru testing the disciple. So his question is that something applicable in ISKCON of today, whereby, because he made reference to Nectar of Devotion, wherein Sri Rupa Goswami states that the disciple should scrutinizingly study the guru, and the guru should scrutinizingly study the disciple before they accept each other as guru or disciple. So his question is that something that applies in ISKCON of today? Like, do we see gurus testing their disciples to see if this person is worth being my disciple? I think that is the essence of his question.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah,
Thank you. That's a nice, beautiful question. And every step in spiritual life, engage in any activities and defend it. So the scripture says that a guru, a disciple must test this guru to know whether he's the actual. I will say that is applicable till next millennium unless the scripture changes. Or how the aspiring disciple test to know whether the guru is on in the ancient times. But the injunction of the scriptures is that how he tests in or are might be dependent on nature. Sankaracharya's story will tell. Sankaracharya was able to see beyond the, because and he can, based on his connection to Krishna, can see beyond the walls of the body of the. So there is a discussion we are having sometimes. Some years back, just before Krishna, and one devotee was asked that when Sri Krishna gives name to a disciple, those style of that particular devotee, they reflect that person. How is it able to do? The general rule is that somebody is Samson, then is given a name that starts in the scriptures. But how does he manage to get names of different characters or perfectly match this disciple? That is the
Maybe you should
quality.
remove your video. Maybe you should remove your video. The line is breaking.
Is it better now?
Yeah, we can hear you, but continue speaking. Let's see.
Okay, so that devotee was asking, so how is Krishna able to do this? And my explanation then was that from Guru himself, it is beyond the ordinary. So therefore, he knows what is required for each and every aspiring disciple. But whether not, the Guru should test the disciple or the disciple should fight. That cannot be compromised because that is the injunction of the scriptures. And it is in the same told that whatever devotional endeavor or spiritual life, injunction of the scriptures is a disturbance. So we cannot say because we are in
scrutinizingly be able to check whether the guru is bona fide, or the guru should not test the disciple. But if the guru does the decision, he must have a reason for not doing that. But the guru must test the kind of test he gives. It's dependent on his understanding of the disciple. That my voice is still breaking?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I think it's just a bad day today. But keep on speaking. We're hearing you. Bits and
Yeah,
pieces,
sometimes
but it's okay.
it just comes like this, so we can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
Sorry, material nature is somehow funny.
I don't know. Kavikanapu, Prabhu, do you have your second question?
On that,
Yes, Prabhu.
All right. We were not getting the full response from Salika. We're hearing bits and pieces. You may go ahead and then ask your second question. Maybe things might improve this time.
Yes, Prabhu. Even if it doesn't improve, then we can stop for another day.
Yeah.
So
My second question is about the chapter.
Okay.
Yeah.
How Maharaji was able to
receive
to tackle Kali.
Yeah.
The question is that when Prabhupada established this movement, caliber of people, everything was different then. And every time there's always change in a different world now. Those days, I don't think that there's anything like social media at that time. That time in a mail box and wait for how many weeks or months before you get it, or everybody a letter from Prabhupada and all those. But nowadays, you can with a button, you can just part of the world. You can, even if you want to make a video call, you can see. So things are changing rapidly. What is ISKCON doing to meet up with the change of the world? Adapting to the preaching system and everything, as everything is improvement or innovation that is going on in the world, there is an element of Kali in all of them. Upping our gain in a way that we are not influenced by the Kali, and at the same time we're able to utilize the Constantine in this world.
Very much, Prabhu. I hope I can be heard.
Yes.
But adaptation, and I just gave a lecture on that last week in one global forum. We were talking and nature, at what how we adapt to. And I think your question is also in relation to that. How do we adapt as an institution, as an organization, to most of the advancement of Kali Yuga? The first and foremost thing is that the scriptures has given us a guideline on how to adapt to the current material situations. But the application, when, like you mentioned, when Srila Prabhupada was on the planet, the scenario was different. When Prabhupada appeared in America, the prominent thing was the EP's time. And in today, I think somebody was giving a lecture here and was explaining how some people, they come into devotional service, they have the habit of watching pornographic videos. And when they join devotional service, because it's a part of their old habit, they can't leave it. They are devotees, they are initiated, they are chanting, but they still go ahead and watch pornographic films. So as an individual and an institutions, whether not, we are constantly changing. We are constantly adapting situation. But whether we are adapting in such a way that enhances devotional service and our devotional output is what is in the question. And if you ask me, I will tell you that ISKCON is adapting in so many ways. Before 2020, you've never seen the kind of massive online training of devotees across the globe through an online sections using Zoom, Meet, and all others. Are you still hearing me?
Yeah.
Okay. So within the last 2 years, 3 years, when the COVID-19 came in, there has been such a massive change in the Mayapur Institute of Education on reaching out to as many people. That is adaptation. Because before now, for you to be a Bhakti Sastri student, for you to be able to study scrutinizing under a guidance of a trained teacher, you have to go to India. And even if you want to come to do it in West Africa, I remember the time we did the first one in Nigeria, all the devotees from all over the country had to go to Benin, travel so many kilometers to get to do that. But now, in the confine of our rooms, in the corner of our parlor, we can sit down and learn Bhakti Sastri. We can learn Bhakti Bible. These are adaptations of the movement. So the movement is doing. The question will be whether are we doing enough or not doing enough. That is what I will look at. And if we ask, are we doing enough? I will say no. Whatever the movement is doing now, in fact, if we say we are doing enough, it means we are in Maya. Like Krishna Prabhu will say, the moment a devotee thinks he is doing well, then he's actually in Maya. The symptom of one who is doing well is that he always wants to do more, because the nature of bhakti or devotional endeavor is that it's continuous. So ISKCON presently is adapting. The adaptation is not at where it's supposed to be. It can be improved in various areas of our devotional service. One other example I can give, and I think that was a topical point in one of our discussions on this platform sometimes back. When we are joining devotional service, it is a taboo for you to hear that somebody is doing full-time pujari work and is being given allowance to maintain himself. You can never hear of that. But in our world headquarters today, in Mayapur, in Vrindavan, Krishna Balaram Temple, devotees are given stipends, allowances to assist them in being able to engage in their day-to-day life because of the age as it's growing. So many things are changing. So the answer is that if we are, whether we are adapting or not, ISKCON is adapting. Our level of adaptation is not enough, but we can do more. And what will give us the impetus to do more? If we realize that we are not doing enough, the moment a devotee or an institution, even in material setting, the moment someone thinks that I'm doing enough in my existence, then that person is actually in a degrading situation. And like Krishna Prabhu put it, he said there is never any time there is stagnation in the material world. It's either we are going forward or we are going backward. There's never anything like stagnation. And in relation to West Africa, I remembered a year before the last time he came, in 2003, he said that when in relation to our activities of our development in Nigeria, he was explaining directly. He said, I hope and I pray this is the last or lowest level you guys can go low, because anything below this is completely extinction. So the reality is that, yes, ISKCON is adapting. In Nigeria, until recently, You cannot have the national council meeting. You cannot have even regional council meeting. Everybody have to travel from Ghana, Ivory Coast, Sierra Leone, Lomé to come. We have seen in recent times that there is online Jagannath festival. This very same year we are in. I've watched a Jagannath ISKCON Desire Trees. We are calling for devotees to join. So devotees are even asked, there is even a request that devotees who want to participate directly can send donation, so that part of their donation will be used in preparation for taking the cat out. So there is adaptation, but it is not enough. I hope that answers your question, Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Shri Salika Prabhu. I think Kavikanapur Prabhu's question and your answer is so important, that as devotees in general and the leadership in particular, understand that when situations change, one needs to adapt to accommodate the change and survive. Because previously, especially during the time of Sri Prabhupada's physical presence with us here, our main source of income was book distribution.
Mm-hmm.
And we see in today's world, we still distribute books, but not as many, because like we just put the entire books Sri Prabhupada has written and his other amazing disciples have written. They are all in PDF and EPUB, like electronic books. They are online everywhere. Anybody can download them for free. So, and these days people want to carry all their books in the palm of their hand. So those are things, and I think ISKCON is doing well on that front, but like you rightly said, there is more we can do. So let's hope and pray. And not just hoping and praying, but we have to strategize what we want to do and try to do it. So I don't know, His Grace Sri Vajranacharya, do you have something to share? Please.
Well, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I'm just here to listen.
We are eager to hear from you also.
Well,
Yeah.
I think the previous question concerning disciples and gurus examining each other before entering into that spiritual contract. I think there is a law in the making. There is a proposal placed before the deputies, GBC deputies, to actually, we worked on it and we submitted it, and then it was rejected by the voting pattern. The GBC rejected it, and so we are working on it again. But it is essentially addressing this very issue that Kavikanapur raised. The disciple being tested by the spiritual master testing the disciple. It is actually an intrinsic part of the Vedic system. Now, before one accepts a disciple or accepts a guru, there should be some assessment. So it is contained in the ISKCON disciple course. I've taught that course a number of times in India and here in Ghana, and it is clearly stated there that both disciple and guru must study each other for at least a year. And then they should be satisfied. They should make such an assessment and be satisfied, be convinced that the relationship they're going to enter is going to be an everlasting relationship. So I think that is not enough. So one of the GBC members proposed a law talking about the temple presidents doing the, because they introduce the disciples to the gurus. And so they have to play a very crucial role in this relationship. Because if you are recommending somebody for initiation, you must have studied the fellow for a period of 1 year, and you should be able to say whether he is worthy of being accepted as a disciple. And also the disciples, aspiring disciples, have to be convinced. You have to convince them that they've made a good choice, or the right choice. So is under discussion, and we hope it would, and this time around, the GBC will vote in favor of that that law. But is trying to make everybody responsible. The temple president who is recommending must be responsible. The disciple has to be responsible, and the guru has to be responsible. I think we have got some experiences that people accept Diksha, and then later they are disenchanted. They are not happy, and they blame the temple authorities or souls, recommending authorities. And that is why this law is coming up, to make sure that things are properly done so that everyone will feel happy entering into the relationship. So it is being addressed. And I hope when that law comes into effect, it would stem the challenges that we are facing in ISKCON in this regard. So that is what I wanted to say regarding the disciple being tested by the spiritual master, and the spiritual master being assessed by the disciple before they enter into any relationship.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhuji.
That's so much for that.
Very interesting to know.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Because, I mean, this is like a vivid example of what Salika Prabhu was sharing, that ISKCON trying to live up to the pace of changes that is going through in our world today, like online programs we have, as we do have now. Some time ago we didn't, but now we have. And please, if you're not speaking, mute. It's also said, like His Grace Srivastava Prabhu was sharing with us, because a disciple examining the guru and the guru examining the disciple is not so easy these days, because the early days when this was mentioned, the disciples and the gurus were almost always together. So the guru can have a first hand studying the disciple. In our world today, the gurus go all over the world and they cannot be everywhere at the same time. So somebody will have to represent them, and depending on who is representing them, they may recommend somebody who is not really up to a certain level. And depending on their representatives, the guru may give the go ahead and then give initiation. So we hope that this proposal can come into fruition so that it can help take care of such situation. Because Rupa Goswami, Shukadev Goswami is the guru of Maharaj Parikshit. And it is said that when Maharaj Parikshit approached Shukadev Goswami, first of all, tested him to see if he's eligible. And the way he tested him was giving him the karma kanda process of doing away with sinful reactions. And Maharaj Parikshit did not accept that. Then Shukadev Goswami knew that, yes, this is a qualified disciple. So we hope that comes to fruition and that might help. Kavi Kanapur Prabhu, thank you for sharing His Grace Srivas Vanachari. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, I have another question.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, my question is in terms of communication now.
All right.
Even though me also I was once a corporate, you know, so we have accepted our state. The question is that the mode of communication in our movement is not, I don't know how will I say it, how it will, like, let me give an example, that one will explain it. Like, for example, now, the National Council in Nigeria, yeah, we had meeting that there's going to be Ratha Yatra. And I'm very sure only the leaders know that they're going to be Ratha Yatra till now. Let's say, for example, now, if the message, after they had the Ratha Yatra, they have some intensive and good meeting. Maybe Prabhu Sahadev in America may decide to come for that Ratha Yatra, start planning himself. Okay, I want to go to Nigeria, there's going to be Ratha Yatra. I want to witness Nigeria Ratha Yatra. But because the message is not passed on earlier enough, maybe they will pass the message late. That affects. And also most of the time when the leaders, when we have meetings, the meeting ends around the leadership. It doesn't go down the line that even the congregation member can know about that. So in this way, there's no proper communication within. Talk less of now talking about how we project ourselves to the media outside. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Salika Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kavi Kanapur. This is a very important point you have just raised. And actually, not just only in West Africa, but globally, this challenge is there in ISKCON. Like we were saying, talking just now about adaptation. The thing is that, yes, the Vedic scriptures has complete knowledge without the exception of anything. In other words, the Vedic scriptures is enough to give us everything that one can think. But because as the movement grows and we expand, there are not many Prabhupads on the earth planet. We need to understand that. It takes the kind of the personality of Srila Prabhupada to perfectly manage things and get the result he got while he was physically present. Because we don't have many of Prabhupada, it is essential for the movement to train its members to become a qualified managers. In many organizations, I remember several years, His Holiness Kavichana Maharaj would say, when he comes around and he finds himself in our leadership meeting, he will say, if you want to manage well, go to the Catholic. If you want to increase your congregation, go to the Pentecostals and learn how they develop congregation. So in our today world, in our present day ISKCON, there is so much of lacking. And what organization does is that they bring in people who are experts in their own field, not necessarily being a devotee, who are expert in communication, who is expert in management, who is expert in different fields of activities, to train devotee if we want a perfect management situation, because we don't have many of Prabhupada. Prabhupada is an empowered personality, incarnation of God. It's an empowered personality. So he could do everything and still be perfectly organized. But not all of us. We are not in the category of Srila Prabhupada. So it is essential. And I think ISKCON is trying to do that. But like I said before, whatever we are doing, there is a whole lot of wide gap for improvement upon it. Before last year, 2021, I had to go outside when I was working with civil society organizations. I had to go outside and learn conflict resolution. My spiritual master is an expert in the area of conflict resolution, but he didn't learn that conflict resolution in ISKCON. But that was part of his discipline before he became a devotee in ISKCON. And he brought in those qualities in his ability to manage conflicts. So when I read his books, I learned some things. But when I saw the gap in what he taught and what is practicable, I had to go out there and learn from what we will call materialists, the principles of conflict resolution. But last year, 2021, ISKCON Mayapur Institute announced globally the ISKCON conflict resolution training. And I became part of that training. I got the training, got certificated, in addition to one I got materially. And we have a monthly meeting now where the organizer of that program brings different experts from different parts of the world, from India, from US, from Europe, every month, to further educate us and share experiences on conflict resolution. So in areas of communications, not only in West Africa, but globally, we're having a whole lot of gap in what we are offering in terms of communication. Generally, management in West Africa has a big challenge, because I'm here, I see it, and I know it. There's a crisis going on, and somebody called me over the weekend and said, Salika, you're not speaking. This is a very topical matter, and you're supposed to be one of the senior most person. Why don't you speak anything? You're not contributing on WhatsApp. I said, the fact is that this subject matter you want me to start chatting on WhatsApp, it's something that will have been dealt with properly, but because the necessary step has not been taken, that is what has created it. So if you want to solve the problem, you have to be proactive so that it doesn't repeat itself. So I agree with you, Kavi Kanapu. Communication, there is a whole wide gap there. And what ISKCON can do in West Africa, particularly now, because we're talking about West Africa, is that ISKCON West Africa should recognize that we are lacking in these areas of management and communications and everything. Communication is one aspect of management, because as a good manager, you must be able to communicate. So it's one part of the management. So in management, we are lacking in so many ways, and it is essential. If ISKCON in West Africa is going to grow, it is very essential that we must bring in experts, whether from within the movement or outside of the movement, to train practical management of organizations. Then we can be able to actually articulatedly manage our centers to develop to our dream state. But yes, I agree with you. There is a whole gap in our management, not just in communication, but all aspects of our management setup in West Africa. It requires an expert intervention to be able to do it. And I share with you, what you are saying about over the years in West Africa, especially in Nigeria and West Africa in general, there is a a syndrome or a scenario that has been created for so many years back that somehow or the other, even though it wasn't supposed to be the focus, our temple activities has been centered around a temple president. And because it's centered around temple president, we somehow or other, knowingly or unknowingly, consciously or unconsciously, have destroyed the office of a temple president. And that office is no longer functioning as it's supposed to function, according to ISKCON standard of temple presidency. So there's a whole lot of gap inside there. I agree with you. But what it requires is that as a region, and I'm happy that you studied management at the university level, at master's level, so you can go ahead and help, but it requires a constructive endeavor. And the leadership of West Africa must see this as a need for it to happen. Otherwise, no membership can make a drive, because there are certain aspects of organizations that an individual cannot change, that requires the input, strong input of the leadership of such an organization. I don't know whether this answers.
All right,
yes,
Kari, please hold on for a second. I'm sorry, hold on for a second.
Yes, my Oga. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Shri Salika, thank you so much for your response. One thing I just wanted to remind all of us and whoever may be listening to this is that, yes, there is leadership crisis, there is managerial crisis everywhere. And that is why the world is what it is now. But luckily for us as ISKCON as an organization, we are aware of our situation and we're doing everything possible we can. But it's time to say goodbye to our meeting today because our time is up. And so we will kindly ask all the devotees to kindly unmute, and then we chant a big Hare Krishna to express our appreciation to our speaker. And then we can take it from there on after. Please.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Yeah, our glory to SALIKA PRABHU.